Welcome back to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And we discuss all things magical, mystical, metaphysical, and empowering. So, if you would like to chat with me, obviously for a small fee, and have a coaching session where we will, the categories are, how do I feel empowered? So kind of like on the life coaching end, how do I feel good about myself? How do I manifest what I would like? How do I do that? Or I am doing that. How could you advise me? I'm willing to do that. If you want to work with your magical working, how do I empower my magic? Or I've been studying the occult for a long time. I don't fully understand some of these things about astrology, tarot, uh, and the Kabbalah. Like, how does this all come together? I am totally willing to advise you from the side, obviously for the same small fee. So I am like an occult life coach. All of my efforts, my whole entire goal is to get you to have the self-realization, that you need to empower yourself in this life. And so really that's the bottom line. And you can scroll through my past videos. You'll understand kind of who I am and what you get. And now let's move on. So, where do I get all this content? My last YouTube channel had tons and tons of content. And at that point, I had 2,000 followers. And I really wasn't putting it out there. Um, and then we had COVID. I, after COVID, I totally crashed. Like, I totally didn't feel well after being on the front lines, working really hard in a grocery store as a side hustle, and needed time away from everything to just get back to me. That was a big thing for a lot of us. And it literally took me, I would almost say, 2 years to like kind of like recover, put all my parts and pieces back together. Um, and so my YouTube channel has been kind of like my open diary, and it's also been a great support system. And I was like, am I going to just do a cult and be an occultist? Am I just going to teach magic and the mysteries of magic? Because I have a deep passion for that. But I'm also really good at life coaching. I have been a psychologist and a cheerleader all my life, you know, and I even went to a really cool program, learned so much about life coaching, and I have been life coaching myself for like over 10 years, to the point where my family is going, "Who are you?" And we like this better version of you. And I'm not going to say it was easy. I'm going to say it took discipline. And, but besides the effort, it needed a structure. So whether it was magic and occult, there needed to be a solid structure to then blossom and go all over the map, and explore other things with it, and then even go into my own specialization of the occult. Uh, and so the structure of the occult was Kabbalah. The Tree of Life teachings is the foundation structure of Western mystery tradition. Okay, tarot and uh, astrology. These are like the three big keys to understand and totally master Western mystery magic, the teachings of the ages. Okay, so we find all these great geniuses that have been promoted through the decades, through time. All of them ended up at some point in their life studying Kabbalah, okay, studying Western mysteries. And when we look at our science, It all comes from the mysteries. Okay? Chemistry, astronomy, uh, medicine, all comes from mystery teachings. So, what makes it mysterious is it's beyond the average level of education. These are the bigger questions, how come there's patterns? Table of correspondence. What are the patterns of the stars? How does that relate to my physiology? So that's kind of a big question. It's not, well, okay. So, moving on. The life coaching, the experience. Yeah, I was always a natural, and yes, I do have some very strong intuitive abilities, you know, with a lot of positive placements in my astrology chart pointing that out. But there's also a system, there is a method to the madness. There is a very sound structure. I have pointed it out in my videos where I took the basic square model of being in your box, blew it up into a cube, and once you understand that, if you can understand that, okay, um, you can really help yourself out. You can really life coach yourself out of some toxic patterns. Uh, so then, who needs a coach if you're giving all this awesome away, right? It helps if someone's already been there and done that. You're playing the sport, but you rely on your coaches to teach you new techniques, better ways and methods. You need practice, you need training. So even in this advanced life coaching workshops that I took, at level 3, we were assigned mentors and they worked with us for 3 months, integrating what we learned in these workshops into our real life. And so we had to be accountable. We had to show up for these phone calls and these meetups, and we had to present, we had to be active. So, and it was a great experience, but it's for people who really want to grow, basically. They're like, I know there's something great in me, it's just somehow blocked. I know my dreams can come true. I'm somehow self-sabotaging. What is it? It's very possible that someone else's perspective could totally open up a new horizon for you. You're like, oh, that's what I couldn't see. So we are in a time of change, right? Every age was in a time of change. There's always new things coming online, old things being deleted. And what is being required of us as human beings? What have we lost along the way of this indulgence and entitlement? This artificial self-worth, this artificial wealth, this artificial abundance, this, what was the cost? Family, community, our earth, farmland, ecosystem, healthy air. We can't sweep it under the rug anymore. It's time to take responsibility. We're taught that responsibility is a heavy burden. So we sweep it under the rug and we don't deal with stuff. I'm here to tell you, you are a super being. You are a very powerful being. There's actually a book called Super Beings that I happened to read in 2000 when I was going through the massage training program. And, that was the first time someone was, this is like way back when, this is really the first time where someone was like saying, hey, you're not as limited as you think you are, what you've been taught that you are. There is, endless possibility. Like, you're a super being, and that really hit a chord. I was like, this is the first book where I actually feel good about myself reading. It's not, you know, And so I really liked it. It was a fast, hard read. And, I blew through that on the bus into the city to learn the massage program. And let's just say my whole life has been transformative. And, but that book was kind of like planting a seed in my mind to what years later would be that life coaching experience that my best friend invited me to go to. And I was at that time, you know, totally insecure, totally awesome at the same time. It was like, it was both. It was like, so yeah, paradox, right? Um, but when I went through that training, I didn't go fully knowing what I was getting into, which probably wasn't the best thing for me. It would have been better if it was really explained a little bit more. When I went through that life coaching experience, I thought I was going through to strengthen my bonds with my good friend. I was like, I'm going to have to pay $800 for this level 1 sign up life coaching. I didn't even know it was life coaching. I was just told, come to this program, support me. I think you'd be really good at it. I see your potential. I'm like, I'm like, fine, I'll pay some money to keep my friend. I really like you. I'm not ready to let go of you. So I will come and I will pay this money to see if you're in a cult. I am going to go in there and drag you out. I'm going to like tranquilize you. I'm going to like jack up your drink. I'm going to bring you out of this cult if I have to. So yeah, I'll pay this money. And, I kind of went through level 1. And because I didn't know why I was really going there, I didn't, okay, I have this really crazy memory, really crazy brain power. So I can literally just kind of absorb everything on a different level, later go home and unpack it. And I can unpack it a year later, and I can unpack it 3 years later, and I can unpack it 5 years later. So I have this ability. I can literally put myself back into those environments, take a look around. And I found that ability when I found that subject really important. So I went through level 1 and everyone's having these transformative breakthrough experiences. And I'm like, I'm kind of not on the same page as you people. And these aren't my problems. But I want to have a cool experience. I want to cry. I want to get in touch with my feelings. You know, so I remember driving home back to my parents' place, uh, and I was like, I want to cry. I haven't cried in like 10 years. Maybe, maybe emotions have some validity to them. Like, I know some people like to cry. I've had friends confess they like to have a good cry every now and then. It just kind of heals them, comforts them, kind of like recharges them through a good cry session. I was like, what? To me, that sounds sloppy, dirty, snot moving all over your face. It looks gross. I hate it. I'm just like, oh, it's like throwing up. Crying to me is like throwing up out your eyes and nose and mouth. And same with like complaining, and it's like throwing up. So I was like, but if I need to have a cry throw up to purge repressed feelings and emotions and history, I'll do that. I need to get in touch. I need to get in touch with what's really holding me back in life. So I remember like turning on some sad music, really trying to feel the feels. And then, I had an intention. Next time I go back, because the next level is even more money. It's like $1,000. And I like literally didn't have that money. I was like asking for money, borrowing it from friends, family, loved ones, throwing in every dime I had. I was like, this program's either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it's not going to work, I don't even want to think about plan B. It's going to be not pretty. So, yeah, was I in a dark space? Yeah. Was I willing to do some self harm? Yeah. So, I'm telling you, I understand when you feel like you might not make it tomorrow. You're at the edge. What are you willing to do? So I'm just saying, I understand that. So literally, yes, I had my cry. Yes, I got in touch with some feelings, and that was kind of helpful, but it wasn't truly the transformative breakthrough that I needed. And I went through the third level, the mastery program, or whatever, and I put it all away. And after the program, I swear I felt more crazy. I was like, all this information's been presented to me. I don't exactly know how to puzzle piece this together. And luckily, I had a really new supportive best friend, because my best friend that I went through that program with, she died. Oh my gosh. So I literally lost my mother figure and my best friend right after the program. And so it just so happened that I ended up being friends with this other lady. Like literally, she's like my sister. So love her so much. We obviously, years down the road went our separate ways. I have my journey, she has hers. You know, uh, I wanted to explore some other things with my life. Um, but so I had to like kind of put myself back together after this really intense program. And then what was really awesome is I was working in this psychic shop as a astrologer. And it was kind of this new little psychic shop, and they were hesitant to hire an astrologer. They had all these card readers there and whatever. And they decided to give me a chance. And so literally, as soon as I walked in, started doing astrology readings, I was like completely booked out. They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, apparently astrology is pretty cool stuff. Tarot is too. And yes, I can do that, but I just took all these other classes in astrology, and I can actually do astrology like tarot. I've, done tarot for how many decades? So it wasn't hard for me to next level up the astrology. It's not all mathematical, like it is, but there's this whole other level to it that you have to be intuitive. And so, and really, that's not the point of this conversation. The point of the conversation is that's when I met my mentor, who mentored me for 8 years, who also was like spiritually advanced, very spiritually advanced, who specialized in shamanism, uh, and was like a hardcore Christian. Side note. Uh, but because she went through the program and was staying with the program and doing this whole other mentoring thing on the side, using the tools of the program, it allowed me to puzzle piece it all back together, integrate it for myself, and then, apply that with friends, family, and loved ones. So I couldn't be where I am now without her mentorship, without her life coaching experience. So I was very fortunate. I was invited to live in her house, partake of her food, share in the experiences with her and her kids, so very close friendship. And I actually love uh, when your guru, when your spiritual teacher is really close on a one level like that. Like it was a high honor and a privilege. That just doesn't happen. Okay. So you have to be prepared and you have to be doing the work. So there was a whole long lifetime of my preparation to be ready to receive the teachings and the mentorship of my guru. Just like when I went through the mystery school, I had that paid for. I was working in a new age shop selling books and doing card readings, and this lady walked in and she was like, I think you like animals. I think my animals would like you. And I'm like, well, my dog died, so I think it would be nice to have some dogs around. She's like, why don't you babysit my dogs? I'm going out of town. So I babysat her dogs for like a week, came over to the house, fed and watered them. And then when she got back, she has this envelope and she's like, I want you to read this. And it said something about a mystery school, something about learning level 1, 2, 3 training programs, like a year course. And she's like, what do you think about it? I'm like, that's cool. If you want to go, go. And she's like, do you want to go with me? Like, do you want to also go? And I'm like, I just work in this little new age shop. Like, I can't afford this. She's like, I didn't ask you if you could afford it. All I asked was if you wanted to go. And I was like, sure. So literally, she paid my way through this like very expensive mystery school training program. You know, the last training I had to pay, which was fine. Uh, so I got so much assistance through these programs of the Western Mystery Tradition and the life coaching program. And so obviously it was divine. And there was a lot of inner work and other work going on before these opportunities presented themselves. I was already practicing magic. I was already reading stuff. I was already good at certain things. So I was already doing yoga. I was already, in touch with basic shamanism and things like that. So I was prepared to receive these gifts. Now, after this integration has happened, now after these lovely people have moved on with their lives, going whichever direction they need to go, you know what? It's kind of my turn to hold that torch. It's kind of my turn to light a few candles. I have the experience. Training wheels are off, and so along this journey, I've always mentored people. So I've always had magical apprentice, and I've also had people who I was playing life coach for. So it's not really hard to continue the journey, in a more professional way. So on my terms, with my personality and my flow. So basically, it's a lot like this video. Like, this is me. And I have some tools I can share with you on many different levels. The aim of all of it is to empower you. Whether you come to the spiritual self-realization of this personal power, whether, who knows what exactly your goal is, but you will get there. And I might just be one of those puzzle pieces to a greater puzzle. I might just be a stepping stone on the way for you. Maybe you just have to experience my vibration. Maybe you just want to entertain yourself. It will obviously be more than entertainment. But yes, I am making myself available to humanity. I'm making myself available to the world, because honestly, it's not hard to change. It's not hard to get your cup filled. We have these stories. My mom, my dad wasn't there for me. My inner child is so needy. Well, guess what? It takes a community to raise a person, to raise a child. How many more mothers, how many more fathers are out there? I've had 8 mothers. My adoptive mom, she's still around, She just wasn't like emotionally mature. She had uh self-esteem issues. She has a block. She's unblocking it. We're working on that. Uh, you know, and so it took other really cool women to raise me. I say I've had 8 mothers make me the person I am today. Like all the strength that I have comes from these really powerful women. And I also give myself credit. I've always been really awesome. So everyone is really awesome. You are blessed, okay? And I didn't know this video was going to be like this. I just wanted to talk about the third chakra, your personal empowerment center. But this is kind of a let's get to know you a little bit better, Onyx. You little mysterious man, you little wild one. Uh, you complex creature, your little wizard working in so many ways. Your solar plex chakra is this place where you get to be empowered, where you get to be the ruler of your life. You get to wear a crown, where you understand you're royal. You are of divine origin. You are alive. And you are here to feel good. We are kind of taught to sacrifice ourselves. And in this sacrifice, it's called working hard. In this sacrifice, it's called love. In this sacrifice, it's called devotion. As we cling tight to things that actually aren't serving us, they are not good for us. And yet, we are taught so backwards in life. And we take this in because of those missing spaces in our development process. We fill in the gaps with crap. We fill in the gap with wrong information, with authorities lording over us, in a weird way, that's all the past. Here we are in the present moment. But how can you get out of your darkness unless you can see the light and know where the light is and have the light on? You've been in the dark so long, you can't even comprehend. Some of you can't even comprehend what light looks like. I know I turned off a lot of my emotions to deal with being adopted, being of a different race, being of a different sexual orientation when it wasn't cool at that time, being totally dyslexic. I was like scoring 0. You're out, you're out, you're out on so many things of the standard checklist on what society expects of you. So to deal with that, what a great idea. Why don't I just silence the pain? Why don't I just numb it out? Why don't I just turn my light off? Why don't I just hide it? Why don't I just, it's getting buried under all this expectation. You're going to learn to work. You're going to be 6 years old and you're going to be weeding our farm. You're going to pick up the slack and do all this extra work and all this extra work and all this extra work. Why don't you just silence your voice? Why don't you? So we all do it in our own way, is what I'm saying. We arrive at this place where we have allowed ourselves to take off our crown. Well, in order for you to feel so good about yourself, let me just take off my crown so you can wear your little paper crown and feel good. And you can just boss me around all day and lord over me at work or lord over me in this relationship. And you can feel strong and powerful. And I'll just keep my crown in my back pocket. And I'll just sit on it and I'll crumple it. And oh, I've kind of forgot I had a crown. So now when I pull it out of my back pocket, it looks like dust. So now when I need it, I need to speak up and tell you how I feel. There's no authority over it. There's no power. There's no results. There's no proof that you're powerful. And we doubt ourselves and we live in fear. And that's what fear is all about. You know, there's a couple different really cool quotes about fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. The other one I thought was really interesting. Uh, from Lost in Space, the first time I really heard it was fear means you think you have something to lose. If you think you have something to lose, then you're going to fear losing it. I was like, that's interesting. And intuitively, I knew anxiety was just another level of fear that you're not enough. So the opposite of anxiety is knowing you're awesome. So then, doesn't fear mean the opposite of fear isn't love, it's personal power, it's confidence. That's the opposite of fear. This is the solar plex. I know I have a right to exist. I know it's my choice to live. I know no matter what's happening, I rule. I know this is my life. I know these are my feelings. They're not subject. It's not debatable. It's indisputable. I exist. I am. Therefore, I'm also responsible to be the ruler of my life, to honor and value my own thoughts, and not put someone or something, a symbol, an image, an idea, a model, an icon, an agenda above me, a deity outside and above me. Why should I give up my power? If I know I'm powerful, if I know I'm the ruler of my life, if I know I'm it, then what is there to be afraid of? It's an opportunity now. It's like, cool, let's see what I can do. I have full trust in myself, not faith, not even belief. I trust myself because it's built on a foundation of I know myself. I'm not going to lie to myself anymore. We're going to